Assalamu alaikum everyone and good evening. Welcome to the third session of the ISO 901 2018 lead audit. So we'll continue from where we left yesterday. Wa alaikum assalam to everyone as well. So yesterday we were discussing, let's go for a recap and we discussed um, clause number 7, 1.5, the monitoring and measuring resources, in which we discuss the stability of resources, maintenance of the resources, and documentation for fitness for purpose. Today, we are starting with the new clause, which is the measurement of the traceability. This clause deals with ensuring the reliability and credibility of the measurement results obtained through the equipment used in verifying the product or service conformity. It usually applies in two situations. Let me just mute the disturbance. Some participants have.
चाचा उधर वाड़ा सो
Okay. So, as I was saying, that it applies in two situations. So, situation number one is when the measurement traceability is a requirement. So, this could be mandated by a specific regulation, customer specification, or other external factors. Okay, this was the one type situation. Another type of situation would be that when the organization considers traceability essential for our varied results. So even if it's not required, the organizations can choose to implement the traceability for a greater confidence in their measurements. So the question is that when traceability is needed, this clause outlines the specific requirements managing the measuring equipment. As the first one, let's highlight it well, calibrated or verified. So see, calibration or verification is about the or both. It is about the equipment that must be calibrated or verified both at a specific intervals or before use. Okay. Next is the calibration must be done against the measurement standards traceably to international or national standards. What are the requirements? So our country, it is required by the PSQCA. Okay. Internationally, it is required by the FDA. So if such standards does not exist or doesn't exist or don't exist, the calibration verification basis must be documented or retained at least. Okay. Moving on to the second part, which is the identification. See, in the identification part, the part B, all the measuring equipment needs to be identified to be easily, um, uh, you can easily track the difference and track its calibration standard. Like you can distinguish between what are the identification of the measurement equipment is needed. Okay. Third part is the safeguarding. So safeguarding is the equipment that must be protected from the adjustments, damage, or deterioration that could invalidate the calibration and subcontinent measurements. Okay, I forgot to write the D here. Actually, this part is D. And the D part is the adverse impact and action. So if the equipment malfunctions or you have a malfunction is discovered in the equipment, the organization must assess whether the previous measurement were affected or were not, because they must then take the appropriate corrective action, such as the remeasuring or notifying the affected parties. Let me give you an example. See, the examples of the appropriate actions would be recalling the products due to potential and non-conformity based on the invalid measurements, implementing additional monitoring or validation measures, retaining the personnel involved in using the equipment. Okay, let's move to the next clause, clause number 6, 1.6. which is the organizational knowledge. So this clause focuses on the knowledge required for the successful process, operation, and achieving the conformity. So the organization must determine the necessary knowledge. This is the first one. As you can see, I guess it is mentioned here. Yeah. Determine the knowledge which is necessary means that you have to identify the specific knowledge needed for each process to function and ensure the product service or conformity. Or consider the knowledge related to the material techniques, regulation, and customer needs. Second part is to maintain and make availability. You have to ensure that the identified knowledge is documented, stored, and easily accessible to relevant personnel. This could include detailing material, process documentation, operating procedures, and other forms of knowledge capture. Third part is the addressing of the changing needs. So as needs and trends evolve, the organization must reevaluate its knowledge based on the no, information base. So determining whether the existing knowledge is sufficient or if the additional knowledge is needed. Or other on the other part all could be included is that you have to identify the ways to acquire or access the additional knowledge, such as the training, new technology, or partnerships. Now let's move to the little bit further. See, organizational knowledge sources. Let me see. It is mentioned here. Organizational knowledge. Now me, I'm going to note one. See, organizational knowledge sources recognizes the two primary sources of knowledge. One is internal, the other one is external. I guess it is also mentioned here. If you have read the slide, you would know that it is also mentioned here as well somewhere. Yeah, this is the external sources. And if we go back, these are the internal sources. Okay. So the internal sources is for the intellectual property developed by the sorry for the coughing. Excuse me. So as I was saying that the internal sources is the intellectual property developed by the organization, experience gained through the operation success and failures, lessons learned from the projects and improvement initiative, sharing and capturing the undocumented knowledge among the employees. This could be the internal sources. Now let's move to the external one. The external one would be industry standards and best practices, academic research and publications, conferences and seminars, collaboration with customers, suppliers, or other stakeholders. So if the organizations are actively managing and leveraging its organizational knowledge, so they can improve the process efficiency, products, or whether services of the quality and adapt it to its changing requirements effectively. Yes, that is why an internal auditor is always needed before the external audit could take place. You are right. Okay, you can go through this one. Oh, let's skip this one. You can go through the 7.2 competence of the organization and the awareness. You have 2 minutes. Okay, the clause 7.2 competence focuses on ensuring that the personnel involved in the activities impacting the QMS are actively skilled and knowledgeable. So, what are the key requirements for those and the competence? See, I guess, yeah, it is also mentioned here. Let me get annotate. See, determining the necessary competence of a person. So, identifying the skills, knowledge, and experience needed for each role that affects the QMS performance. Uh, Mm, The part B ensures the competence where you will verify that the personnel possesses the necessary competence through education, training, or experience. Part C, there is the acquire and evaluate the competence. If needed, you will take the actions like training, mentoring, or hiring to address the competence gaps and evaluate the effectiveness of those actions. The last part of the D and the clause 7.2 is the documented evidence. This part. It is not mentioned here, but we usually call it as documented information part, where you will maintain all the documented information like certificates, training records, or job description as a proof of competence. Okay. Like you will, if you are getting any type of certificates, you will all include as a record and it will be known as a proof of competence. Okay. Clause number 7.3 is the awareness, and this clause emphasizes the importance of raising the awareness among the personnel about the QMS and its significance. So, key requirements are the quality policy, relevant quality objectives, and contribution to their effectiveness and non-conformance implications. Let me see. It is, yeah, I actually, yeah, all are here. So, the quality policy, the first part, the part A, is to ensure that everyone understand the organization's overall quality goals and commitment. Moving on to the next one, which is the relevant quality objective, is to inform the personnel about the specific targets that are set for achieving the quality policy. Part C is the contribution of the effectiveness, where you will make everyone aware of how their individual work contributes to the overall effectiveness of the QMS and the benefits of the good performance. Last part D is the non-conformance implications, where you will educate the personnel about the potential consequences of failing to comply with the QMS requirements. So, by ensuring the both competence and awareness, organization can empower their personnel to contribute effectively to a successful and continuous improving QMS. Okay. You have a minute to go through the current slide, then I'll start explaining. Okay, so clause number 7.3, 7.4, communication states that the organization needs to have a defined communication strategy for their QMS. So I guess there are five parts. Let's go one by one. Part A. Oh, okay, part A is what to communicate. Okay. What you can communicate here is you will identify the information which is relevant to the QMS that needs to be shared internally and externally. There are two parts. You are sharing it internally, and along it, you are sharing it as external as well. When to communicate? This is the question. When you can communicate? Let's get it here. See, when to communicate, you will define the timings. Well, let's give it the timing. We'll define the timing for communication, like during specific events or at regular intervals. Okay. Third one is to whom you will communicate. You will identify the specific recipients of each communication, and both within or outside of the organization. For example, something big, or you can say something, some incident happens. If you could imagine yourself as a kid, if some scenarios are there where some incident occurs which are out of your hand, right? So you know to who to communicate. You will go to your parents, like this happened. Okay, I got injured. I had that. So you know who to communicate. Now that was the part where you are in the home. Now, if you are outside, you will obviously reach to your parents, someone, but if you are a little bit grown up, you will reach the public to tell them that you are hurt physically. So, what I'm trying to explain here that you are selecting the channels to whom to communicate depending on the situation. So, same is the this clause is telling you that according to the specific receptions, each communication should be utilized according to both within or outside of the organization. Okay, now. The part here is that how to communicate. See, don't get confused in the communication. These all might see similar, but they are playing different roles. First one is to what to communicate. You have to understand that what are you going to communicate, when you are going to communicate, and to whom you are going to communicate, how you are going to communicate, and who communicates. Okay. See, how to communicate, you will choose the appropriate communication channels for each audience. Okay, let me give you an example. If you are in a meeting, your communication channel would be different, right? If you're writing an email to a person, your communication channel will be different. If you're talking in your house, you're engaging in a communication activity in your house, the channel would be different. Writing reports through communication would the channel would be different. So you have to select how to communicate depending all of these points that we have understood from here to here. These all are depending about how you communicate. Okay, then the last part is the main part of all of this, and who communicates. You will assign the responsibility for communication task to a specific individual or groups. Either it could be one person or either it could be group in groups, but all they should lie on off on these points. Okay. So 7.5 clause is the documented information, and this clause emphasizes the importance of the documented information for the QMS, which organizations are need it to be included. They need to include all of these. Required information is the first part. Uh, this refers to the specific documents mandated by the ISO 901 standard, like the quality policy and the documented procedures. Part B is the necessary information. This part where the organizations can define the additional documents they deem for crucial, which are very crucial for the quality management system effectiveness and considering the factors like their size, complexity, and personal competence. So the amount of the documented information can be vary depending on several factors such as organization size, industry size, process complexity. Ultimately, the aim is to have the sufficient documentation to support the effective quality management system implementations, operations, and improvement. Okay, I hope the all of these clauses are clear to you. Okay, you can go through this slide. You have a minute, then I will start explaining. I would advise please read the clause number 75.3 carefully. It is very, very important and very, very difficult to understand. So please take out your time and read the subclauses and read the note at the bottom of this slide as so creating and updating clause number 7.5.2 focuses on ensuring your documented information is clear, accessible, and appropriate. Okay, let's move to the parts. Part A is here. So part A is the identification and description. Okay. So documents should have a clear titles, dates, authors, and reference numbers for easy identification and retrieval. Part B is the format and media. And they forgot to write the media. No, it is written, I guess. Yeah. Media is here, format is here. So, but we usually call it as format and media. So you will choose the formats. What are the formats? Language, software are the formats, and the media are the paper and electronic, which are suitable for the user to document the purpose. Okay, you will review and you will go for the approval. Okay, for what? The documents should be reviewed and approved by the relevant individuals to ensure two things: accuracy and effectiveness. Okay, sustainability and accuracy is also here, but I actually rephrased it in a easy words to help you understand more comfortably. Okay. 7.5.3, the clause of the control of the documented information. Okay. So the current clause emphasizes the power or proper control of the key documents. So the part A here, don't worry about the length. It is just looking big and lengthy, but it is very easy and fun to understand. Okay, so part A, let's start with the part A. See, the availability and the sustainability is the part A, where the you will ensure that the documents are accessible and appropriate for the intended use at the right time and place. That's all. If we move to the part B, protection. The protection is to safeguard the documents from unauthorized access, misuse, or alteration. Okay, let's move to the next clause, 75.3.2, which is the control of the documented information means activities. Okay, what are the activities? I guess there are four activities. Yes, there are four. One, two, three, four. Okay, so actually I memorized all of these clauses by my, I can say by years of giving training. So that's why I'm not looking at the slide. I'm just speaking. So that's why I have to confirm every time that what I am speaking is actually in the slide or not. So the part A is the distribution. You will go for the distribution, access, retrieval, and use. You will define who can access, who can edit, and who can use the document. Okay. For example, we distribute the certificates, right? So we give the access and the retrieval of the use. We will define who can access the certificate, who can edit the certificate, and who can use each document, and who can only view the certificate. Okay. The next part is the storage and the preservation. You will ensure proper storage for documents, including maintaining their legibility over time. Okay. We control the changes, or let's just say control of changes. Control of changes are the implementations of the version where you will control the procedures to track and manage the documented updates. Part D might look big, and it is big, but it is the most important part and fun part to understand. Retention and disposition, where a lot of industries lack. Why? See, you will establish the policies for how long to keep the documents and when to dispose them. We usually, go to the audit of the food safety and ISO, and we find that they have already disposed the documents which were required for the policies. So that's why when I said it is fun to understand this, it is actually. So see, there is a policy for keeping how long you will keep the documents and when you will dispose them of. If you have a product in the market and you are not sure whether it is finished or not, you will still keep the documents. And you are fully sure, I will not say 100%, I will say 1000% sure, then you can dispose them easily and comfortably. Okay, but my advice is that please don't dispose any type of documents with the time period of 5 years. After the closure of that product or service, and the time period is 5 years. Between these 5 years, if you have to keep those documents properly established, and after 5 years of the discontinuation of your product or services, you can dispose them. That is the easiest way I could suggest. Okay. Now, the external documented information is where you will identify and control the relevant external documents used in your quality management system. And you will also protect the documents which are retained as a proof of the conformity from unauthorized alterations. So, the note I told you is that you can access the involve simply viewing or viewing and modifying a document. So, permission should be clearly defined that who can use the document, each document or whatever type of document it is. Okay. Okay, so I guess I will stop here because my voice is not allowing me to speak loudly. So uh, until today, tomorrow, not tomorrow, you will enjoy the Sunday tomorrow. Or from Monday onwards, we'll finish the fourth session, and we will go through the clause 8, 9, and 10. Okay, then we'll wind up the training session of the quality management system. Okay, so Farid Ahmed Khan has a question. Sir, I'm feeling a little bit confusion When using two terms called QMS and this is international standard, are these two different things or the same, and why we use the two terms separately? See, you are referring to ISO and the QMS, right? If I am not wrong. What are the two terms? Can you please elaborate? You are referring to the quality management system and ISO. Do you know what is ISO? Right. See, when I am saying, you know, right? See, ISO is International Organization for Standardization. Okay. But see, ISO has many standards. When I'm saying quality management system, the quality management system refers to ISO standard 901. The 901 stands for QMS only. There is a code word, right, for each standard. So ISO is open to every standard, but they are actually manufacturing the standard. Okay, that's why they call it as international standard. But 901 is referring to only QMS. So when I'm saying QMS, is directly referring to 901 only. I hope it is clear to you. See, some standards are oftenly dealing with the safety of the food, like quality management system, food safety levels, FSSC. Okay, has where the concern and the hazards are concerned. So food safety is also the first priority. And the control quality, it might be different if you're talking about the lab work, because quality requires a lot of lab work while the food safety doesn't require. Food safety does require, but it depends on whatever food safety we are dealing with. Yeah, ISO 9000 is the previous discontinued version of the ISO 901. Okay, so any more questions or shall we wind up? It depends that whether we are making the relevation to the ISO. Okay, so we'll stop here because I'm not feeling well today. I'm sick a little bit to my throat, and you're most welcome.